yeah. Oh yeah, we're recording right now. Okay. So what do you have in front of you for the listeners, for the people not watching on YouTube right now?
I'll say, in front of you right now, you have a magic burrata. A magic burrata. Dear Mike, this is your invite to Italy.
Oh,
and this is me. This is me, your mozzarella. You know?
Oh my goodness.
And I am ready to be eaten by you, big man.
Holy shit.
Check
Look
this
how
out.
creamy that is.
Oh, and look at that. It's a little slice of heaven.
Oh man, this is a bombo heaven, if you know what I mean. Hold on, Alex.
What you got for me?
I got something special for you too. This was one of the favorite dishes of Mike, right? Mozzarella.
Yeah, that's right.
Hold on, ladies and gentlemen. You ready? 3, 2, 1. Ta-da! Ta-da!
Oh, bro, look at that hair as well. Look at you.
How about a carrot and a broccoli for lunch, baby?
Oh, man. Hilarious. How you doing, Flav?
I'm doing good, boys. Very good, very good. Thank you. I mean, this is all I prepared for the show today. A mozzarella and a carrot. Then I don't know what's going on.
Man, I'm loving that hair.
Yeah, you do. So people compliment my hair all the time. We have the same fucking hair, bro. You have fabulous hair.
I must, I must got some genes years ago, out of Brook. And see, I would like to have your beards, guys, but it won't grow. Hair grow, beard doesn't grow to me. But
well, you'd need probably 5 years to get to the jihadi level over there. I mean, Mike hasn't cut his beard in a long time.
Yeah. I was actually just contemplating trimming it because every time Vicky, like we lay down in bed and we're going to sleep, she has to sit there and constantly like smush my beard over. So I'm like, should I cut this? She goes, you should fucking trim it just a little bit. And to be honest with you, I'm not like against it. I just keep fucking forgetting.
You've had it years now.
I know. I don't think I've trimmed it at all since I shaved it for Movember for prostate cancer awareness. Like I did the mustache for it, but since then I don't think I've done a fucking thing to it. That was like 2 or 3 years ago.
Right.
Nice.
So,
I mean, it becomes part of yourself, It's just like a anti-stress as well,
I guess. I don't know. I'm just
like a real
lazy.
sensei.
It definitely adds to his look, huh? So let's introduce you, Flav. So, Flav, what year was it that you come and interned for us at Elite in Zurich? What year was that?
It was summer 2016.
Wow.
Yeah.
So one day, this handsome Italian guy showed up to the gym. This was before the internship, and he wanted to come and intern for us for the summer. And I remember thinking, how the hell has this guy got such good English as an Italian? And then it turned out that this poor sod was with the sheep in Wales playing, what was it, semi-pro or pro rugby at the time?
Oh, no, please, Alex, please. I wish. I went to Wales just for an experience, a life experience, just working, trying to learn English and playing a little bit of rugby. I think I played with Mumbles RFC. That year I was in 2nd division. Then I got relegated to 3rd division. And then I went to university in Swansea.
Right, that's it. So you were playing for Swansea, right?
Yeah.
And then after that, you went
What the fuck is Swansea?
Swansea, a place in Wales.
Okay, all right.
Yeah, it's one of the biggest cities in South Wales, UK, not Australia, UK. And so I because I used to play rugby, and there was a period of my life that I really wanted to get away from Italy for a little bit. As people do a gap year in New Zealand, in Australia. I went to do my gap year in Swansea, Wales, UK, and after that, turned out I lived there for 4 years, and I was lucky, to get a scholarship for university. So I took undergraduate course in sports science, and so I studied 3 years over there.
Right. So then after that, what happened between until you showed up on our doorstep?
You mean in Zurich?
Yeah. So did you go back home to Italy before that, or?
Okay, so I went to Wales. I spent 4 years in Wales, and then I came back to Italy. I played a little bit of rugby, and for a couple of years, and I was getting paid a little bit for playing, and I started training. At the same time as I was playing, I started coaching the junior team, the under 18s of the club, and the academy team. There's like the second team, and I spent there 2 years in Padua, in Italy. And after that, a couple of years, I had a couple of injuries, and just a couple of herniated discs. I mean, in the world of rugby, a couple of herniated discs are normal. But on me, I was like, okay, let's see if I keep, carry on playing. And I couldn't run anymore. The situation was so bad for me that I was like, I was playing, I fell down. I felt like a big thunder on my back, and I was like, okay, let's see where can bring me rugby for the next few years. So am I gonna stop? Am I gonna continue? And then it was a tough decision, but I decided to stop and to start training, and trying to become, what we call a physical preparator, strength and conditioning coach, wherever, and trying to do it full time, 100%. And so the thing is, at that time in Italy, there weren't many places where I could really accelerate my learning process. So I decided to, again, go away from Italy and get away from Italy and go. I went to the States. Hey, you're gonna laugh now, Mike, because I went to the States, and I went to Austin, Texas, and I went to do an internship at Austin University, Austin, Texas University, and I spent there 3 months. I managed to work with many different sports. At the same time, in my afternoons, I used to go to the gym around 6 a.m. in the morning till like 4. At 5, I used to go to On It Academy. I spent a couple of months with Cameron.
Oh, that's great.
The Francos. Mm-hmm. And so I spent 3 months that way. I mean, Austin, Texas University was an official internship. Cameron was just kind enough to say, come in whenever you want to come. And so every afternoon I was going to go there and learn a little bit more. And because, you see, I come from rugby, okay? So me, having studied in Wales, coming from rugby, at that period, one of the biggest programs that was going around the web, it was the Westside for Skinny Bastards. You know it very well. And so I, dig a lot more into it. I discovered Joe DeFranco, and then, I discovered more and more Westside Barbell, Louis Simmons, and all this work. So I was like, man, I really want to go. I really want to go and spend some time, at least at the Franco's gym, and see what's going on over there. Because at the time it was one of the biggest also on the net. And there we go. So I went to Texas for 3 months. I was really pleased with my experience. And after I came back to Italy for a couple of months, tried to earn a little bit of extra money again. And I flew to the States. This time, I didn't flew to Texas, I flew to Ohio. Yeah, I flew to Ohio, and And I did my second internship, and my second internship was Westside Barbell, you know, with Louis Simmons and Tom Barry and all his crew and their athletes. And it was a special place as well. It was a special moment of my learning process. And I spent 3 months over there, three or 4 months, I can't recall now. And then I came back to Italy again for another month. But you see, when I stopped playing rugby, I was like, I made a promise to myself, because I really wanted to work. My dream was to work with professional athletes. And I was like, I'm not gonna start working up until I get a job with professional athletes. And I want to continue. So if that means I'm going to intern for another 5 years, I'm going to intern for another 5 years, as long as I keep working with professional athletes, because that's what I really wanted. Came back to Italy, couldn't find any job, couldn't get any job at all. I was like, and then Arno Galmarini in Zurich, a post showed up. We are looking for an interns. You know, we are working with these athletes. We need some help. And at the time, a couple of guys were putting me up on their couch. Didn't have a house or anything. And boom! Luckily I got the internship. I moved to Zurich. So I spent 5 months in Zurich with Alex, Arno Galmarini at his elite training gym, and it was again another special moment and another special period of my life, you know, that's really accelerated my learning process. And I'm lucky because I made many different experiences in places that had results, you know, despite their methodology, you know, despite what they were actually believing in. And so it gave me a chance to really see, understand that there's no black and white, everything is multicolor. And after that, you ran away from Switzerland, right, Alex? And I ran away too.
Yeah. Let's go back to Westside. How did you get the internship, and what was that experience like?
Okay, so that was actually my second time I went to Westside, you know, for a proper internship. First time I was still in Texas, and I really wanted to go and check Westside. So I wrote down an email to Louis' secretary, and so I'm an Italian guy, you know, I'm in the States for a while. Can I come and visit the gym? Yes, of course. Yeah, you can come. No worries. I have a friend in Columbus, Ohio, you know, out of this world, just incredible. I said, look, Santino, can I come over to Columbus and stay at your place for a few days? I really want to go and see this gym. So I come to Columbus, Ohio, and I cycle, I remember, about 45 minutes to get to the gym. I arrived to the gym. Louis was there with one of his, crew members. It's like, what the fuck are you? I'm like, hi, Louis. I'm Flavio. I'm from Italy, and I wrote down an email a few days ago to see if I could, I could come down to the gym and train and see what you guys were up to, and just as a learning experience. That bitch, she fucking didn't tell me that, you know. He goes, well, you're here, fuck it, yeah, I'm not gonna fucking tell you to go away, so stay here, do whatever you want. Guys, it was him and one of his athletes. After 10 minutes, he leaves Westside, the athlete leaves Westside. I'm in the gym by myself. You know, after 10 minutes, I just jumped onto the gym. I'm by myself. After 10 minutes, I'm like, is this for real? I mean, how do they trust like a little guy that's coming from Italy to stay in the gym? Like, I could literally blow up the entire thing, the entire area, you know. But again, it was a special moment. Louis is such a nice person. Really, it's a very kind man. And so I really got fascinated about what they were doing over there, and then came back to Italy as to Tom Barry, who's actually, the main guy that works with athletes and one of the pillars of Westside really in the past few years. Irish man, really nice and really intelligent man. So can I come over for an internship? Yes, you can come. So after I started, 3 or 4 months, I went back to Westside, stayed there for 3 or 4 months, and it was the experience. I jumped into Westside, and they had a crew in the morning, a crew in the afternoon, and this is for powerlifting. You know, I was in the winter, went there in January, and for the first 6 weeks, no one talked to me, like no one, like no member of the crew talked to me, and only Tom. And you know, not to say that they're not nice people, but just to like, okay, you came to the Mecca, little boy, and you're as skinny as hell, and we just want to see like if you can, you know, hold it for a while. And because guys were telling me the last intern escaped after 2 weeks, you know, and, and I'm like, you know, it just shows you, you know, how important is for them the gym, and how important is that place. And look, if you come here, you gotta accept certain things. You know, you just keep your mouth shut. You know, stay with your feet on the ground, and don't even try to be a teacher or to be, you know, someone that knows. It just stick in your place, help us, thank you very much. And then after 6 weeks, slowly, you know, I started to you know, look him in the eye and start talking, and build a nice little relationships. And it was great. It was great. I mean, the thing is with Westside, obviously, you know, you guys know it as well. What we see of Westside now on the web, or what we used to see, it was literally just a small percentage of what was going on over there, because it's actually in constant progress. You know, it's a very how can I say? It's a laboratory. You know, they wanna develop more and more and more and more and more. And Louis has the same hunger of he had, you know, the same as he had like 30 years ago. He still wants to improve every single day. He reads so much. You know, he can't sleep, so he reads a lot. And his humbleness, you know, it's very humble. It's a very, you know, very kind man for what I can remember, and super intelligent, obviously. And you know, he was one of the pioneers for many things. So yeah, you know, you have to respect that. You know, you like it or not, you know, you can still learn so much from him. So much. I mean, he's one of the people that literally made his entire life inside the gym. I mean, the gym is everything for him. You know, and I mean, if he doesn't see people succeeding, I mean, he's not happy at all. You know, so that's why he's trying to improve more and more and more. No one is perfect. We all make mistakes. I mean, his crew, like Dave Tate and Louis and all the other bunches of people, you know, in the 80s trying to figure out how to use bands, how to use chains, many mistakes. You know, they break bones and stuff like that. So it was a magic experience also because of the athletes. You know, they were there. A lot of athletes between sprinters, track and field, and MMA fighters. And it's really incredible how you think, okay, they're gonna train like powerlifter, but they actually don't. You know, inside, you know, you have smart people that are not gonna train the athletes as a powerlifter. You know, they do a lot of accessory work. And certain athletes, I remember the time I was there, they like used to max out every now and then. You know, if you want to talk about, you know, what they were doing about strength, but it was more, you know, power training, and a lot of their system works in a way. You know, then again, you go to Zürich and you see what Arno and Alex were doing. Their system works, and I was going to Texas, and this system works. And but again, it was a really amazing experience. Westside.
So was he doing? Did they had sprinting athletes there too? Mostly MMA guys nowadays, right?
Yeah, they had a couple of sprinters. Yeah.
And was he doing any speed work with them, or was he supplementing their track work with what they were doing in the weight room?
Exactly. Yeah, he was supplementing. I mean, him and Mike are supplementing what they do, obviously, in the track. So a couple of sprinters were going there, just to improve to get, let's say, stronger and more powerful. Okay, outside the track, and more resilient. And so all the MMA guys as well. And yeah, I mean, they have their methodology. And again, it's true what they say, you're not training Westside until you're a Westside. And what I saw over there, it might not happening right now, because they were in constant develop, with machines and with a lot of thinking and a lot of thoughts and a lot of ideas. So who knows now what are they doing?
So what were they doing to track progress, saying like this exercise works, this exercise doesn't?
Feedback from the athlete. And that's the thing, right? I did some experiences, let's say in Texas, in a university, they have unlimited budget, a lot of technology. Arnos and Alex used to use a lot of technology and tracking a lot of stuff, and it was great. And then you come at Westside, and there's no technology. I mean, the most technological thing was the stereo playing music on Westside, really. And you realize that over there, it's that every day is a test. So I need your feedback as an athlete to tell me if what we are doing, it works, and you have good sensory information on the track, on the court, on the field, whatever, and you think you're getting better. Or if we are doing something that is blocking you, or it's making you heavier, and you're not feeling good, then we need to change.
So how old were you when you went over to Westside?
26.
How old are you now?
30.
How old were you when you first started your first internship?
20, I think 24 or 25.
So in a period of like 3 or 4 years, you did how many months at different locations of interning?
So actually was, I think it was a span of 2.5 years. I spent a little period before finishing university in South Africa for a couple of months in Durban, in an academy, a rugby academy. And then I finished university. Then a couple of years in Italy, and then it was another couple of years between USA and Switzerland. A year and a half between USA and Switzerland.
And what made you go over just the ad saying that we're looking for interns? Why did you decide to pick to intern with Arno and Alex?
Because as I said before, Mike, I made a promise to myself. What I couldn't reach as an athlete, I wanted to reach it as a strength and conditioning coach. And I couldn't work with any professional team over here. I mean, to me, it was enough being assistant coach. You know what I mean? I didn't have, a premise to be the god or the boss. But yeah, no, I didn't get anything. So I was like, okay, if I'm gonna start, working in a studio with general population, I know nothing wrong with it, absolutely. I might miss the train of trying to vibrate towards professional athletes. And so I decided to go to Zurich because I knew they were working with professional athletes, and I knew any internship I was doing, it was unpaid. Besides Arno. Arno was kind enough to give a little bit, but I didn't care, what was the cost. And all I wanted to do is really working with professional athletes. And I had the fortune in Zurich, they were working with the ZS Alliance, one of the top ice hockey team in Europe, and with some professional athletes from alpine skiing and snowboarding.
And also, you was working your ass off in a restaurant basically till early hours of the morning every day too. So
yes, I did.
This guy's work ethic is also one of the reasons why you've managed to do so well, because whilst you might have only, let's say 20, what do you say, 26 when you started, 24, 6 years,
Yeah.
6 years later, you're working with some of the top guys in Italy now. Your skier has won an Olympic gold medal. She just won overall World Cup this year. And also, until recently, you was also working with the fastest, is he the fastest European or the fastest white man in the world? And he's also a kid. Maybe we can even go into that, because I mean, this must have been a massive experience for you in what you've been learning.
Sure. Yes, I started working with him because, actually, let's brackets. After Zurich, I really wanted to go and intern with Kier, in Japan.
That's right.
But that didn't work.
You remember? Yeah, I remember. Yeah.
So you were putting me out with him. That didn't work out. So
right.
Damn it. Now I have to start working for real. And I was like, in my mind, I really wanted to work with a super fast guy, a sprinter. Because history in Italy, there are so many good athletes, but it was about 40 years that you wouldn't hear of an Italian sprinter, doing well. And I was like, I really want to try and see if I can find someone. And with a couple of friends, they live in Zurich. It's crazy. They set me up with Filippo's dad. So the athlete is Fillipo Tortu, the guy who right now is, the fastest in Italy. His best 100 meters is 9.99, and
he's a kid. He's a kid.
He's a kid.
Skinny white kid.
It's 21 now. It's 21 years old, and yeah, at the time I came back to Italy, started working with him. And there was another journey, another really good journey, incredible journey.
Go into how you got him as a client, because this is also testament to the kind of guy you are. How did that happen?
Okay, and so I finally get the number of Filippo's dad, which is the coach. Filippo's dad he's his coach, head coach. And I was like, hello. Is there any chance I could come and see you training, guys, for a week? I really would love to see what you are doing. I was expecting no, because, Italians sometimes say no for a lot. And it was like, he was kind enough to say, yes, come for sure, come, no worries, come this day. So I turned there on a Monday afternoon, first day of off season, It was September, first day of the off season for the new season. No, end of September it was. And I was living 200 kilometers away from where they training. Okay, so it's about an hour and 45 minutes driving with a car. So I went there 5 days in a row to see their training, back and forth with the car. And after 5 days, I was like, guys, would you like some help? I might give you some help outside of the track, in the gym. And they were like, well, actually, we were thinking of looking for someone. It's like, okay, I'll work. Okay, let me work. I don't care about, if you pay me or not. I'm gonna work. So I didn't earn money for that year at all, and it was all on my expenses, travel and everything. And so, but I knew the guy was special, and the guy is still special. He's not dead. The guy is super special. it was a brilliant journey with him. We worked for 4 years together, and it was nice to see actually a multi-year training process, multi-year training program for developing a young kid that has a lot of talent, and see slowly getting better and getting better year after year, and realizing that you cannot get everything straight away, and it takes a lot of time and a lot of training and to fix many things. Actually, the first year was good working with him because he won the silver medal, if I recall well, at the World Junior Championships. It was 10-19 at the time when I started working with him, and I started working with him. He's limping, and he's limping because he suffers of enthesopathy, on his left hamstring. The insertion of his proximal hamstring. He suffered of that, and he had to stay away from the track that year, even though he ran 10-19 for months. So there was, that was still good management of the athlete by his dad, the coach, because he realized, he couldn't run that much if they wanted to go to the World Championship. So I started working with him. We had to fix, a few things on his body. And first year goal was make him training without him having to stop, for a certain amount of period. So consistency, from the beginning to the end of the season. That was the goal. No strength, no power, no nothing. Just let's see what this guy can do. If he can continue to run, and we can just start fixing his body a little bit. And that year, from 10-19, I think he ran 10-07. And that was nice. It was nice to see, but it was nice for me to see him be able to train every day without having him to stop, because every athlete, once you have to stop, it's a hard time mentally, psychologically. So that was the goal for the first year. Second year, we started working a lot more. Finally, I got some power and strength training outside the track. And the second year in Madrid, fortunately, it was 2018. That's when he ran 9.99, and we were chuffed. We were happy. Of course, it was just a record breaking after 40 years. 4-0 was crazy. And then what happened in 2019? We were in Doha for the World Championship, and it was a tough year, that one, because in May he had, for the first time, I think, in his career at that level, going on a Diamond League. He had 4 or 5 races in a span of 6 weeks. So it's travel, a little bit of training, race. We didn't see each other for a long time. We didn't see each other before the last race for about 6 weeks. So I only was talking and chatting with him, see how everything was doing, blah, blah, blah. Everything was okay until one of his main sponsors said, for a contract, because of your contract, you have to run this competition. So it was one extra competition that it wasn't planned. And, on my side, then I can also tell you what I think went wrong, from my side, because we didn't see each other for a long time. So no strength training was done. So maybe his body wasn't ready to hold so many races, but he had to do that race. Pulled his hamstring. And now we are 90 days out of the World Championship in Doha. Luckily enough, thanks to the old staff, that physio, and all the rehab process, and went okay. So we went to Doha in 2019 in the end, and we reached the final. and he arrived 7th in the world. So that was 2019 in the final. And last year, COVID, it was a awful season. COVID stopped everything. We couldn't train the gym, couldn't train on the track, and it was tough for everyone last season. And yeah, this was basically, you know, a little story of my journey with Fillipo. You know, crazy thing I learned from him, crazy things. But I mean, I have to say, I couldn't have been successful if I didn't do all my experiences, and if I wouldn't have gone searching for other pioneers. You know, let's say Charlie Francis, let's say Hank Kryanov, let's say Rolf Homan. You know, all those big wise men that, you know, have 20, 30, 40 years of experiences behind their, you know, their back. And so one thing that I want to say, just when I started working with Fillipo, I knew that I could give him something. If I didn't know I couldn't give him something, I wouldn't have taken the job, you know, myself first, because I mean, you can't really screw up a guy like that. It wouldn't be fair to him, because it's really a diamond, you know. It's 1 out of a million, really, or more billion guys. And this guy is still young, still has a lot on his tank to show. So we'll see what the next few years we'll give it to him.
So the previous year, how many races did he run?
Previous year to that?
So to the big year where he ended up pulling his hamstring before Worlds.
Okay, so the year before he had similar competition. The number was similar, but where they were just spread out, you know. So it was like one race and maybe 2 to 3 weeks off, and then another race, and then another 2 to 3 weeks off, and then another race. That year was like 4 races in 5 weekends. And at the level, it wasn't really ready. But what I can tell you, and this is my mistake, well, everyone's mistake. The no strength training was done. No strength training was
for
done.
4 weeks.
Pretty much. He was away. Going around Europe, and I'm pretty sure that contributed, you know, to the thing. Yeah, just a big learned mistake that and again, but he had to do an extra race that wasn't planned. So who knows? Still, I believe I have to put myself into the feeling that, you know, I criticize myself a lot. So I know if we could have done, you know, a little bit, maybe extra, you know, resilience and strength training, it could have.
Yeah, but I mean, realistically, whether it was 1 extra race, 2 extra race, or 1 less race, I mean, how would you have planned differently for 6 competitions versus 5 competitions versus 4 competitions? The kid didn't work out the entire time anyway. So the quantity of the races, I don't think was, you know, the fact that you didn't plan for that race, I don't think that was, I don't think it had anything to do with it. The fact that it just popped up out of nowhere. You know, you could say the mental preparation, he was already mentally exhausted and he didn't prep for it, but I don't know. It
definitely could.
Yeah. I don't know. I often think about that. How do we program really? Because for extra competition, right? The difference in my preparation with my NFL guys, for guys that I know are going to be in the playoffs versus guys that I don't suspect will be in the playoffs, is fucking zero.
Sure.
You know, like, so I don't know how I would possibly quantify that and account for it in my training, which is why I started doing acupuncture. Why I went to school for acupuncture and started learning more about bodywork, because to me, that's the most important thing, is the availability. It's just like you said, year 1, you were doing 0 power training. You weren't worried about anything. Like, let's just make them available so this kid can consistently be this kid. I think that was a very important thing, that point that you made, just because the best ability is availability. he needs to be able to run in order to get better at running. You can't do one without the other.
Absolutely.
But with the competition schedule, did you guys come up with a strategy? Because when things like that occur with my guys, right? If I have a guy that is playing basketball games or baseball games and they have to do back-to-back games, or pitchers, I have relief pitchers that have to do back-to-back starts. Occasionally they'll have to do 3 days in a row. That's just how it goes. And they don't know when it's coming. So as a relief pitcher, you need to fucking let it all out usually. But I tell them, I said, listen, if you have a long stretch coming up, if you could throw 99, why pump it up? You don't need to let it all out there. All you need to do is hit your spots. So for this kid, how important is it that every single time, every single race, he sets a world record or attempts to set a world record or runs for a PR every single time he's running? When you know you have that 4-week span, why not just say, hey, leave 10% in the tank every single time? That way we can last these 4 to 6 weeks. Why risk it all? Is that something that you guys talked about from a strategy standpoint?
No, didn't at all. And also it might be due to inexperience of the guy.
Yeah.
And he's so young that obviously veterans can really perceive, okay, when they need to hold, the tank 10% more or just let it go. And for him, every race at that time was super important because he really needed to every time trying, to do his best to get ready for another. That also what happened, now that I recall, the first race that we did, it was in Italy. He did 9.97. But it was,
that's a PR.
That's a PR. See, again, exactly. So, and I'll tell you this little story. When we were in Madrid, that he hit his first PR, sub 10. His central nervous system required about 18 days to recover properly. He was fried. Obviously, media, and the press and everything else, for sure, going back to Italy, wow, big thing. But his CNS literally was fried up for 18 days. And it was just active recovery for about a couple of weeks after that race.
But he still had races every 7 days after that.
After the 9.97, so the year where he blew up, his hamstring. Yeah, he had races. So yeah.
Good point. So fucking shocker. Whenever my guys set a PR, I mean, I'm super concerned. I get really excited about it, but as soon as it's like their fastest sprint that I've seen in a while, I'm like, hey, we're good. Let's end it on that one. But I mean, 100 meters, this kid doesn't have the luxury of, like you said, he didn't have the luxury of taking days off, taking competition time off. But I mean, realistically, looking back, that second race, even that second race, how important was it that he ran that next week, or even, or even prior, how important was it that he set that 9.97 that week? I have these conversations with my guys all the time. What would you rather do? Run a 4.4 and blow out your hammy, or run a 4.5 and do it 10 fucking times in a row? Right? Because it's all about, especially in this competition schedule. What do you think?
Well, the thing is, at that level, there are many other aspects that come into play. You have to book in advance a place in those races, and so maybe a couple of months, him and his management staff, they decide the races that they wanted to do, based on sponsor and other stuff, other things. So it was like, okay, these are going to be the races that we're going to do, no matter what, no matter how, no matter what, and we're gonna do them. And so I really get your point from a physical standpoint, Mike. But at the time, really, you couldn't really say, okay, the guy ran too fast this week. We're not coming, to Oslo. We're not coming to Stanford for racing, because there's many other aspects in the contract and with organization. There's like, we don't care. Your guy is running fast. It's no, I don't want to. I'm not being racist, but it's white, it's young, it's fast. He has to come. That's it.
Yeah. Yeah.
And because if you think about it, in the club of the sub 10, there are about, someone were telling me, out of like maybe a couple of hundred people, only 3 white men. And
Mike, you should get him up and share your screen, because he has the most unassuming, powerful body that you would ever imagine. He's a skinny white guy. He looks almost like he's elastic. And how he runs too, it's so different, Yeah,
he is. You have to respect his characteristics. That's what I understood. And he's a very tall guy, 1.87 meters. He weighs around 85 kilos, and is very tall, and such a small and short waist, very long muscles, very, very elastic. That's his characteristics are. You would say he's a fascia guy. We could say he's a fascia guy. It's a lot of tendons and characteristics and a lot of elasticity.
He is a baby.
Yeah,
he's so young.
Yeah.
So Flav, what sort of? I mean, of course, at the beginning when you started working with him, this guy's probably not done much more than a couple lunges, some sit-ups, and some push-ups, right? In terms of his physical training. What kind of stuff was you doing with him? Did you keep it basics, or was you trying to sort of, really push using some different advanced techniques that you'd learned from Westside, or what kind of program structure are we talking about?
So, one of the things that really helped at the beginning, he, as I said, he was limping. Why was limping? Because his left leg was working a different way as the right leg. Obviously, he had the problem on the left leg, and I just wanted to check how his sequence of muscle recruitment was at that time, between the relationship between the glute, the opposite QL, and the hamstrings. And that's because I learned from a little bit from Cal Dietz and with Douglas Hill. I don't know if you ever heard of this gentleman. He's a physiotherapist. Well, RPR, Cal Dietz, Chris Corfis, JL. Basically, it comes from really from obviously the whole story is Chapman's point. Then Douglas Hill created his B-activated technique, sequence of activating neurolymphatic points, and then in America, I didn't want to go and say, okay, can we do it over here? Can we develop it even more? So they did a really brilliant job, Cal Dietz and JL and Chris, to develop it even more in the US. But I went to this gentleman to do 2 levels of this, learning this technique. And one of the things he said, runners really need to have their muscle sequence firing right. The glutes must contract first, and they have to be independent, to the hamstrings. If the glutes are not contracting before the hamstrings or the contralateral QL, what happens? You get that implosion state, and the body wants us to be in a, let's say, explosion state now. From the center out, from short to long, not from long to short. Now, and having said that, I'm testing it is contralateral QL, his glutes and his hamstrings. His hamstrings are firing like crazy, and he has no glute. So I spent the first couple of months trying to recreate the right order, the right motor firing pattern, between the glute, the contralateral, and the hamstring. And his hamstring was overworking, because of what he had in the pathology he had. His glutes wasn't functioning properly. And so we worked a couple of months on trying to get the glute working properly, independently. That was the biggest thing. And working prior to the hamstrings in a way.
So how did you do that? How did you do that? Which exercises are you talking about? Are you using like EMS,
No. I didn't have, guys, if you know where we were training in a garage where I had nothing. I had nothing. I had my hands. I had to try to do my best. And at that time, what I did, it was just putting my thumbs, on the hamstring, the has the contralateral and see what was a really contracting force. And one of the exercises that we did, I put it in a lunge position, left leg behind, and I was like, Filippo, okay, now you have to think. So this is cognitive training as well as physiological training. You have to really try on a shortened state, because we are in a lunge position, to trying to give me a glutes contraction without contracting the hamstrings. So I want you to start thinking and learning that you can really contract your glutes without overworking your hamstrings. So it's like, give me pulses, pulses contractions. And at the beginning, he couldn't really do it because he couldn't separate the two. And slowly, through repetitions, he started separating the two things. And he started then contracting really more his glutes and after his hamstrings, until we got to the point where he could really contract the glutes without even give us a little stimulus to the hamstring. And that was one of the biggest things at that time. And then we started working the posterior chain because he needed to work posterior chain. So a lot of exercises from Westside really helped out. Again, I didn't have any instrument, but I was pumping, doing banded leg curls, and his left hamstrings was, I remember, 4 fingers shorter than the right hamstring. Okay, it was smaller. It was underdeveloped. Crazy. Because of he had the injury. No, he didn't have the injury, but yes, he had to stay away. He couldn't really run. He couldn't really push. That's why he was limping. So he was like exerting so much force with the right leg and not much with the left. So his hamstrings was really underdeveloped. So we tried to rebalance the two things for the first year and try to obviously give a lot more strength. So unilateral work, that was it, not bilateral work. Only unilateral work. Try to really develop the posterior chain, really develop the hamstrings, especially the left one, and trying to rebalance the two legs. And after a few months, he stopped limping, so everything I was doing, again, I didn't really have instruments, technology, but I had his head coach. And I had Filippo say, how's your feedback? How are you feeling? Do you feel like you're slightly stronger? You feel better? Do you feel more connected with the body? Or you're still feeling, a lot of discrepancy between the left and the right leg? So all this feedback back and forth.
So back then, which hamstring was it?
Left.
And when he pulled it in Worlds, which one did he pull?
Left.
So what do you think that it's, because there's a difference between consciously contracting musculature and then unconscious competence while you're in the middle of a sprint, right? Like it's people, and Cal Dietz talks about this a lot, where people that work on bracing for their lower back health, right? You're recruiting transverse abdominis, and it's supposed to help just I mean, it's like back rehab 101. People have an underactive or under-recruited transverse abdominis. I don't know. Maybe you do, maybe you don't. Maybe they don't know how to consciously recruit it. But I mean, anyone's taking a shit, you're perfectly fine contracting your transverse abdominis. Even, you know, if you're a dude getting an erection, perfectly fine contracting your transverse abdominis. Peeing, same thing, right? So I wonder how much conscious competence comes into play when it comes to recruiting individualized musculature in a controlled setting. I don't know, because there's guys that have foot pain, right? You ever hear the gait guys?
Maybe.
Okay, the gait guys are people that literally they just focus on feet. And one of the exercises that they do is they'll move its extensor hallucis. Hallucis? What's the toe? Hallucis. Extensor hallucis brevis is contracting the toe short. Extensor hallucis longus is extensing it long. And they have these guys practice short, extend, short, extend, short, and they have terrific control of their feet. Where some guys have it, some guys don't. But if you're just barefoot all the time, the musculature in your feet, they're perfectly fine. You develop it anyway without even having that conscious competence. So going all the way back to this, how did you know that was the right, what made you think that was the right thing to do, or that developing that conscious competence in the controlled setting was gonna actually help? And you think it helped? It did improve the hamstring hypertrophy and hamstring strength as well?
No, I don't think that special exercise did improve hypertrophy and strength. But at the time, I knew that, you know, the brain works with repetition. So sensory inputs give you certain motor outputs. And if, you know, this was an extreme case with enthesopathy on his insertion of the tendon, and with, you know, a shorter muscle, underdeveloped muscle, and an injury. So I thought that we literally would have to start from the basic. So start consciously, you know, trying to feel it, because you have to feel it. You have to be conscious. You have to know what you're working with. I mean, you're running with your legs, but do you really know your legs or not? Do you feel your glutes, yes or not? I mean, do you know it's there? Because I believe athletes should really have full control and of their body, obviously, and they should really feel and understand what they need, you know, for a certain movement. And at the time, I knew that Fillipo, you know, needed to redevelop and recreate a better state, a different sequence of contraction. So it was like, I didn't know how to do it. And I thought at the time that progression to the exercise was already too much, you know. So I was like, let's really bring it to the basics. Let's put you in a lunge position and give me a contraction and trying to relax your hamstrings. Just give me the contraction. And my thought of it was like, okay, so if we can do some repetitions like this, the brain will start memorize, you know, this sort of, let's call it pattern, and hopefully he will start to replicate the on the track, you know, as it runs. Because we know, you know, that, you know, it's all the brain, you cannot think when you're out there, you know, it's all automatisms. So your body, it is what it is. But at the time I was like, okay, we have a lot of time, we have a full season, let's see if we can start from this, because it was a really a kid, and he couldn't really figure out, what to use, what to utilize. He was just running, was just a freak. And I think that worked, in order for him to not overuse his hamstring. But that was my thoughts of the time.
Well, and you mentioned that he had no glutes anyway, so of course he needed to work on being able to recruit them in certain exercises anyway, I guess, and get them stronger. And I mean, probably the whole posterior chain anyway would also have been, lacking, I guess, if there hasn't been much specific work done. So, I mean, if your hamstring's 4 inches or 4 centimeters shorter?
My four fingers. So around that.
Did you use much extended eccentrics or isometric stuff for that hamstring, just try and sort of increase the length of it, or was it just sort of banded concentric stuff? Because I mean, I know a bit more to the story because I was talking to you at the time. I mean, you had no equipment at all. You was basically doing body weight stuff. So you were like cowboys out there. So how also did you sort of approach it? Was you adding eccentric stuff into there or not?
So that's I have to thank also to those experiences, because you really get creative, trying to come out with, and when I say creative, taking already the existing ideas or concept and trying to put them together in a unique way. You know what I mean? So I had a bench, I had a barbell, one of those really thin barbells, and
like the toothpick.
Yeah. And after a couple of months, a real barbell showed up. And what happens, with all the equipment we had, I at the time, but still now today, I believe that we really needed to work a little bit of everything, especially at the beginning. So at the beginning of the season, it was just a lot of iso holds, isometrics, different kind of isometrics, and but right at the beginning, some slow eccentrics, and then this was for a couple of months. Then got rid of the slow eccentrics and started working just normal tempos, more dynamic. And I always kept throughout the 4 years exercises, dynamic and isometrics for the posterior chain in many different ways. But I'm really big believer of working with isometrics in different ways and just regularly, dynamic, or someone call them myometric, or just concentric, eccentric portion. I sometimes I use slow eccentrics, sometimes, but for the posterior chain in particular and hamstrings, yes, a lot of eccentrics, a lot of isometrics, and as well as really fast dynamic movements,
in the weight room.
Yes.
So what kind of fast dynamic movements will you be focusing on in the weight room?
So in the weight room at the time, sometimes we were I can't really talk about what we were doing, guys. I have a policy of 5 years. I cannot talk of anything we do.
That's cool. That's cool.
Sorry.
No worries.
No worries.
If they hear the podcast, they're gonna blow me up.
No, dude, no worries at all. No worries at all. And listen, like if you said something that we need to edit out, let me know.
No ways, cut it.
We'll edit it out. Zero pressure. Okay.
No. Thank you. No, it's good. It's just just that little thing.
Okay, sounds good. Brooker, what else you got?
I don't have too much else. I actually need to make a move kind of soon anyway, so we can also wrap it up. Flav, you have anything else you want to bring up, bud?
I mean, I didn't really prepare anything, but ask me anything you want. I mean, I can
Where-
talk about food. I can talk.
Where we've been on for an hour, so we got more than enough. You're all right. So where can everyone find you?
Right now, everyone can find me in Italy, in Verona. You know,
What's your Instagram?
Instagram is Flavio Dig, Flavio Dig, because my surname is Di Giorgio. But yeah, I'm only using Instagram. I'm not using it anymore now. I had a post a few weeks ago, and then the one before it was months and months ago. I'm kind of like a little bit like Alex. I had to use it for a certain period, you know, and I understand for business reasons you have to use it, and it's good. But
That surprises me because you built up quite a following, didn't you, at some point?
At some point, yeah. At some point, I guess, thanks to those guys. I mean, the skiers that I train, they have a lot of followers. So a few people, you know, start following me. Then I worked 3 years with the professional volleyball, and I guess few people started following because I was working with professional volleyball, and Filippo, of course. And yeah, but I mean, I know this can be another topic, right? Do you really in a way spend your time hoping that someone is gonna follow you, or you just stick for whatever you're trying to, you know, accomplish, or just learn. You know, another topic is, man, you know, there's so much learn. There's so many things I want to learn, so many places I want to go. I want to come and see you, Mike, at your gym. I want to come and see many other people somewhere around in the world. It's just, you know, my philosophy for a certain period. Well, my philosophy is still, I work to do internships. You know, I don't do internships to work, and it's kind of like the way I see it. The way I see it is, Alex knows my story. I moved a lot in my life. I've been, you know, stuck into a place for no more than 5 years. Then I moved. So I'm used to like traveling a lot, and this was my gap year in a way. Let's say like my rest year from team sports, because of COVID, and because I was there was a time 2 years ago that I was training Sophia, the skier, Filippo, the sprinter, and the volleyball team. So it was kind of like I couldn't see anymore. You know, I was fog everywhere in my eyes, and I was like, I need a time to rest. And so I took this period of the year to try to experiment certain things. You know, I've been experimenting a lot in the past 2 or 3 years, because I'm, you know, one of the things really I'm struggling with right now is to understand if something, I mean, if everything I did in the past few years does make sense, and it works, yes or not. Every 6 months, I feel like I'm hitting my head onto a wall. It's like, is this serious? I mean, I thought this was right. And one of the things I'm spending a lot of time with a crazy guy called Adrian Barr.
Mm-hmm.
I don't know if you heard of it.
Yeah.
And is making me see things from a wholly different perspective. And you know, if it's right that the brain needs the right inputs in order to get better, you know, sensory inputs in order to get better motor output, is literally everything we do in the gym doesn't make any sense at all for performance. Yes or no? Because you start understanding levers and how really your body is using it. Because one of the things I learned from the past few years working with professional guys is that all the shapes that you see in real life, they are not the shapes that you see in the anatomy book and the physiology book, or at least in the majority of them. and you're like, okay, you get taught a certain way, you get taught certain things, but then what you see in front of you, it's totally different, you know. And those sprinters are running with certain shapes that not many people can have. And but why they're working like that? And the majority of them are not getting injured, you know. They're still running a lot. And if you think about, you know, 2-4 hours a day of training, maybe they get injured, you know, once every 1 year, once a year, or once every 2 years, or once every 4 years. I mean, in comparison to the volume they do, it's crazy. So how can certain triangles, certain inverted Y shape, certain, you know, feet, you know, that the book says they're totally wrong, being actually maybe, you know, the way to go. The way to go. So
I think we don't even know what we don't know. And the more confused you get, I mean, isn't it the same with even other aspects too, like not even to do with coaching, but to do with what you thought about your own health or what you wanted to do, or even your relationships? Everything's changing all the time, you know? And I think this is just a sign of evolution, sign of change. Because I mean, me and Mike talk about this all the time. Is this really good or not? Is this actually beneficial? I mean, I was more sure of myself when I was younger than I am now. It's like I'm getting like sort of less confident in certain answers and theories and concepts than I was when I was younger. So, but I don't know if that's the right way to do it.
Yeah, that's why
it is.
That's why I ask you, how do you even know that contracting the glute in that fashion was even it? I like what the fuck do we even know? I don't know.
So, and you know what? It's crazy. So my journey was from Westside to Alex, and recently I wanted to experiment functional patterns. You heard of functional patterns, no regular?
Yeah.
Yeah, right. Yes. So I was like, man, I really want to experiment it all. And I've been experimenting a lot. And for the past 2 years, there was the last few months, which, you know, with COVID, couldn't go anywhere, couldn't do anything. I really trained only FP, you know, and see what was like. And, you know, from one extreme to the other. And
how'd you like it?
There are certain aspects of it which are really, really, really interesting. And my experience and the experience of, because I've been implementing it with athletes as well. It was really, really positive for, let's say, try to retention in the body in a certain way, try to retention the fascia lines, and try to connect the upper to the lower body in a more, you know, let's call it functional way. You know, functional meaning, you know, going towards the running, the walking aspects of human movement. It was interesting. I mean, but at the end of the day, if you want to work with professional athletes, I came to this point. You cannot have dogmas. You know, there's no a black and white. Yeah, that it might be a slice of the cake. You know, that way of training, but you also need certain other aspects, because yeah, you know, they are extreme, and you have to get credit. You know why they are extreme, because and they say, look, in order to be functional, fully functional, 100%, you really cannot do any other disciplines rather than walking, running, pretty much. And so I live with volleyball. You know, I work with volleyballs that they get paid for. You know, they get the living out of it. I work with rugby players that they get living out of it. And skiers. And for FP, those aren't functional activities. So as long as I know that my algae is never going to be 100% functional, just take bits and pieces that are going to make them, you know, hopefully a little bit better, you know, in terms of, you know, feeling sensations of getting rid of pain. So just how did you feel spiking the ball? How did you feel skin? You know, there was one case I had with a brilliant skier. She came to me, she was like, Flav, when I ski, I'm totally disconnected. You know, I feel my upper body is totally disconnected from my lower body. You know, and when you when you downhill 140 kilometers per hour, you know, you want to be a whole unit. And so I spent a couple of months between every other things that I was doing, spending a couple hours a day to be FP. And she's a veteran, crazy with the barbell, unbelievable technique, unbelievable weights, and really strong. And that was that made the difference for her, you know. But that was a particular case. So I'm like, from one extreme to the other. Don't say no to anything, just say yes to every little bits and pieces.
Well, man, it's very interesting because, you know, we know about placebo, and we know about that you get good results usually also at the beginning of new things. So for sometimes it's always hard when you're talking about athletes because they're not normal people. If they were normal people, they wouldn't be doing what they're doing. So Absolutely. It's very, very difficult to know.
And I'm like, and again, you know, I'm like, hey, why did that work? You know, and as we know, every time, and one of the best things, you know, that Louis says all the time, it's, you know, just variation, but as well as many other, you know, pioneers, right? You know, variation in a long-term process, it's key, you know, to get, you know, never get in a way used to everything, and never get to the plateau effect. Always trying to, you know, reevaluate and trying to, you know, get some variation for who knows. We know
which is the complete opposite from Bondarchuk, who picks, you know, like who picks a handful of exercises and does them for a career.
Yes, it is true. And still he got results. Right?
Flav, though, there's no way, man. There's no one way.
Sure there is. We just don't fucking know it.
Right? Until you discover it, and then maybe you find that it's not that way as well. There's another one. So, you know, I don't know. It's strange. I think, you know, and this is how I would like to also end this podcast, because unfortunately I need to go. But Flav, you're an awesome guy, and you're a very special dude. Ever since the first time I met you, you've been a joy to be, that you get to be a friend, and I get to be a friend of yours. And your work ethic is fantastic, man. And you're a great guy. All of your athletes love you so much, and keep doing what you're doing, man, because your intention is right. And I think with a good intention, that's probably the most important thing, because you can't really control much else, and you don't really know much else what really makes a difference. But I know your athletes care. They know that you care about them, and you genuinely want them to be better. And yeah, you're a great dude, man. I'm real proud of you for what you've been able to do, bud.
Man, what can I say after this? I'm like, you know, heart is pumping right now. Really.
And no, enjoy your carrot and broccoli.
Guys, I mean, you know, can't wait for you to come over, guys, to Italy for a trip. Really, whenever. And thank you for this opportunity. First podcast ever. And but I mean, so many people came to your podcast. I just feel like a little kid, or just a coach who just started, and a student of our own craft. And big shout to both of you guys. You are in a way scientists and pioneers of a few things and certain things, and it's just an honor to be able to spend some time with you. Hopefully again in the near future.
We'll get you back on, mate. We'll get you
right. Well, and even if you don't come back on, I'm still gonna call you and pick your brain.
I can't wait, Mike. I need to pick your brain too. So, hey, and you know what we could do? We could pick both our brains in front of a plate of, meats and mozzarella. And guys, when you're gonna come to Italy, oh man, you're gonna blow up. like a balloon. I'm gonna make you eat so much stuff. You cannot believe it.
I can't fucking wait, bro.
Yeah. Can't wait to. Cheers, guys. I appreciate it.
Thank you, Flav. Thanks for your time, buddy.